Welcome to Candid Conversations with Doc V, a collaboration with the unprecedented enterprise Win-Win Women, a movement, a global movement to reach, teach, and talk with women and girls around the world in 195 nations. As a woman heals, the earth heals. Our mission is to care, connect, and collaborate with 3.9 billion women worldwide so that all can enjoy a level of excellence in every area of their lives and be more joyful, fulfilled, and financially secure. We care by loving and inspiring all women. We connect as we teach and talk together. We collaborate to grow successful businesses. To that end, Candid Conversations is where real talk about real experiences and circumstances is the norm and not the exception, to help you heal, rebuild, and transform your life and or business from the inside out and put you back in business and on the road to defining your path. Hi, if you've not figured it out, I'm Doc V, the pivot maestro and your corner woman, here to provide truth, transparency, and love in conversation to help you navigate the waters and think without a box. What is my why? You are my why and my motivation to create a safe haven, to validate you and your experiences, and to provide hope and freedom in your thinking and being so that you can live the life and lifestyle you were meant to lead. All are welcome to the show, particularly the men who love us and agree with us. You're all welcome to the conversation with our topics running the gamut and focused on issues women face every day in life, the workplace, career transition, and business. On Candid Conversations, it is our intention to always take you on a journey of revelation, reconciliation, and renaissance, having one mission in mind to help you define your path and one message. You are mission essential. Yes, ladies, even you as a woman, because you are grace under pressure, and the world needs your voice. Folks, you are in for a treat tonight. We have an awesome show lined up for you. In our last week of June, we will close this timely conversation on the REMIX, the true you. Choose you, define your path is what we've been remixing on. Tonight is the true you. Today, our guest on Candid Conversations Hot Seat is Jewel Veitch. Let me tell you about Jewel. Jewel Veitch is a heart healer, spiritual mentor, TV show host, and best-selling author who guides emerging and seasoned spiritual coaches, healers, and therapists to shift into that new paradigm of healing. The new paradigm of healing is what she calls it. With over 2 decades of working with thousands of clients, she has developed a new heart language, healing technology, that shows people how to skillfully melt their illusions, access their next level heart frequency, amplify and monetize their spiritual gifts, and facilitate deeper transformation in themselves and their clients. Folks, let's welcome Jewel to the show. Welcome to Candid Conversations, Jewel.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today and talking to you.
I am so elated to have you, Jewel, and I think you are the perfect guest for the conversation tonight. Last week we discussed finding your willpower to find your strength, and the week before we talked about thinking without a box. Let's talk about what drives our decisions, emotions, and actions as tied to, discovering the true you or rediscovering the true you. Some may refer to it as the authentic self. So I'd just like to share my theory a little bit and have your take on it. So, my theory on the reason why we are having so much division and conflict in America, particularly right now, is because we've never examined the soul of our country or ourselves. And it starts with each individual approaching that self-examination, that discovery process and awareness, from the perspective of uncovering the true you. Society programs us, from birth. It pits us against each other in competition based on constructs that prevent us from enlightenment, in thinking and being. So what are your thoughts around that? I know that was a mouthful, but jump in where whatever struck you there.
Yeah, it's really it's to me what and you said right at the beginning, what it is that drives our choices and decisions.
Yes.
And as we're driven by a false sense of self
Mm,
and a false sense of identity, and make decisions and choices based on that false sense, we're not walking our true path. We're
mm,
wandering away from our true path and from our heavenly home, you know?
right.
And that's what I feel it is at the soul of, the collective, is that the soul of each and every one of us is not being necessarily honored fully and embraced fully, because there's a fear there. And that's that fear that comes through the collective programming, that age-old fear that has been inbred and ingrained in us for so many, for millennia, really.
Right.
And so as we make choices and decisions from a place of false perception about ourselves, we're not really knowing ourselves.
Mm. That is huge, and a perfect segue into kind of where I want to go next. So that false sense of self, of who we are, could it be that fact, because it is a fact of life, that our own lives get so out of control that we try to find something to control outside of ourselves instead of looking inward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. And the behavior of trying or efforting to gain control is in direct response to feeling out of control. And what I have come to understand is that surrendering and leaning into having no control
Mm,
is leaning away from that, that collective construct, and leaning back into that divine soul self that really has our back and is so supportive. And I really feel strongly that we haven't learned as children, either, through our familial or societal or educational or cultural systems,
yes.
to rely on self and to experience self-support and self-provision. So we rely on provision and support from the external, and we try and grasp at those things in order to feel in control. But
Right.
what we're doing is actually working against our divine
Mm,
self.
absolutely. Oh, that was a mouthful, girl. I love that. Absolutely. And I think, we not only carry that within ourselves or like at home, like in our quiet time, we're wrestling with these thoughts, these feelings, and then they manifest outward, in something that we can control in a hierarchical structure, for instance, say the workplace, say government and what's going on in the US. But this is not a political conversation, but I really want to talk about how, let's take, for instance, what's happening with women feeling like their choices are being taken from them, that we're on a slippery slope and there's no control. And so there's conflict, there's even greater conflict and lashing out, you know, how do we as women find that ability to exercise what I believe is a birthright, our birthright, and a gift of choice in how to dictate our lives, whether it's partnerships, whether it's what job we choose, what path we choose, that whole define your path piece. When we feel like things are being taken away, and hard fought rights, women's suffrage, voting rights, thank God that hasn't been taken away, right? But women honestly feel that we're on a slippery slope now.
Yeah, and I feel like it's been a cumulative process.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, regardless of what the issue is, at the end of the day, it has to come back to personal agency and personal responsibility and personal choice. And, even in the context of, we were talking about a man named Viktor Frankl earlier, who had no choice, a Holocaust survivor. However, he spent a number of years tuning back into his own personal agency and connecting back to his ability to choose, an ability to enact or make choices and make decisions that would honor his soul self, even in the context of such adversity, and it's such a tough one, because like you say, it is a slippery slope. And at the same time, it really is about personal responsibility and taking ownership of ourselves within the context of what we do have control over. And the more it's almost like each and every time we make a personal choice that is aligned and really in integrity with the soul of who we are and what our soul knows we want and desire and who we are. Every time we do that, we build that muscle and that self-trust in ourselves, so that when hard things happen, we're able to have this level of self-trust within ourselves that we know that it's going to be okay.
Right. And again, everything always goes back to choice, with that whole thought. For women in the workplace who might be concerned about job security because of whatever ramifications or circumstances of life, there are a lot of workplaces, most, now support maternity leave, of course, but, who may have to go out of the workplace, just there, and they're a single parent, just their whole livelihood. Well, I would imagine a productive way of thinking about it, would be, okay, so this right now might be out of my control, but what can I do to flip that negativity on its head, and bring the positive into my life, like, educating myself. And I don't necessarily mean going back to school, because I just said, potentially it's someone who's struggling socioeconomically. But I mean, there are sessions like shows like ours, and other ways to educate and train yourself, or seek out alternative options other than just the socially conditioned option. You go to school, you get educated, you get a job, you stay in that job all your life, and whatever the construct is. But for instance, like you and I, we've exercised our choice by going into entrepreneurship, diversifying our income, producing multiple streams of revenue. What are your thoughts about just those positive pivots that women can make, so that just the frustration and anger that's happening today all around the world, but particularly since we're here in the States, what's going on in the States, with just questions of, will women be able, are we regressing? How do we pivot toward positivity?
I think it really lies on or in the perspective of infinite possibility, like what we see in our culture and what we see in our workplace and what we see in our families and in our governments and in politics and in all of these constructs is just a very small fraction and limited view of what's actually possible. And so, I feel like when we're looking at something that's really difficult coming face to face with something that's so challenging, is to remember that to base our choice or our available options on past evidence is really of a huge disservice, because we're basing what is actually possible, which means that it's not yet seen.
Mhm.
What's possible. The infinite is not seen. The infinite is untouchable, right?
Mhm.
So to really look at asking the question, I wonder what else is possible that I haven't yet seen, is a really powerful thing that I've come to do. And I've seen so much more become available by asking the question, because the question itself actually is a very expansive one, and it opens to unseen possibilities that because so that's one part of the answer, how I feel and how I'm answering this question. But the other part is that I truly believe that chaos is the raw material for new creation. And so
Yes.
this chaos that's happening right now in
Yes.
the United States, for instance, in the Ukraine, for instance, the chaos is a catalyst for igniting something that hasn't yet been birthed.
Yes.
So if we can take that into our own heart and soul and see ourselves as infinitely possible and ask, I wonder what's possible from this chaos that, I'm getting shivers. So I know this is true. That's how I always know things are true, because I can feel it in my body.
Same here.
Yeah. So that perspective, it's a perspective shift. And I truly believe that everything is about an awareness of a perspective that is yet to make itself known, but to be
Yes.
open to what else is possible.
Yeah.
That's when I've seen all kinds of things that I never thought were possible. That's how I've created the reality that I've always dreamed of, is by surrendering, Yeah.
Oh, Jewel, girl, look, so we have all kind of confirmation. I cold chills as you were talking about infinite possibility and chaos being the raw material. Oh, I love that. Because I talk a lot about how only through change can we grow, because we get complacent, in the status quo, right? And it is only when, something in us, it brings out that whole primal fight or flight, right? So what are you going to do in these times that are, in which it brings up negative emotions, or and you feel
Fear.
out of control? Fear, right. So it's embracing that fear, turning it on its head and making it your ally. And I love that shift in perspective, what you just said. Infinite possibilities and viewing chaos as raw material. I love it. I love it. So, so there is a great awakening, in understanding the true you. It's been going on for a little bit now, but, what you stand for and will not stand for. I feel like it's kicking into hyperdrive now, right? and just the whole power that lies within the right to choose to define your path, and whereas I think a lot of people, you said at the top of the show, how, we get stuck in this false sense of who we are and what we stand for and what we're about or what have you, until, that door closes on your foot or something like that, or, life happens. And then you start consciously processing your birthright to choose. And I talk about this in a book we just launched, Inspired Living, about conscious intuition, bringing that intuition forward. It's thoughts that you have, but we just shut them down. Oh, did I really think that? Or that's just some programming from somewhere else or what have you, until life happens and we become conscious. And I think that's what we see happening. How do we claim that power? But I guess it goes back to what you're saying, just shift the perspective, huh?
Yeah. And I mean, it's easier said than done, right? So the question becomes, well, how do I do that? How do I flip fear on its head? Yes. And we have so many resources housed within us that are underutilized, I feel. The body's wisdom that responds immediately to fear, and that, tells us, tells us what's happening. And the intuitive intelligence that is available for us when we dissolve the energy of fear that is very, very dense and release it and create space for intuitive intelligence to come in, the sensory intelligences and, you know, the heart intelligence. So we have all these resources.
Yes.
I feel that we have very much underutilized because we don't understand. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work that I have come to do around the heart intelligence and the, you know, the heart healing technology, because there's so much more that we have access to that is unseen within us. But when we can learn to really access and tap into those intelligences, then bringing those intelligences online, I feel that will be a real win for our collective, for our culture, for our consciousness, when we can, you know, tune in to really bringing those intuitive intelligences online and leading that way.
Yes, yes. Let's talk about that, because that was going to be my next thought. How do we change the culture, you know, to define our path forward as women and as a nation and as a world, you know? And so can you talk about a little bit about what you do, you know, because I love what you're saying, and I know the work that you do helps people, you know, develop. Most people have heard of, you know, emotional intelligence, right? But this is a whole nother something that you're working with.
Yeah, it is. It is. It does go beyond the emotional intelligence. And I feel that, you know, in a short answer is lead with heart. And that really can sound so very, very simplistic. But it's in the potency of the simple that is, you know, that can be true catalyst for change, is truly leading from heart and truly accessing that divine intelligence through the heart and allowing the heart to begin speaking. And one of my signature program is Heart, the Art of Heart Speak. And, you know, there's so many cliches around live from your heart, speak from your heart, you know, like home is where the heart is. And what do these cliches really truly mean? When we can come to embody the heart speak and how our heart can speak through us, and literally we begin to channel the divine wisdom through our hearts, that, because our hearts are electromagnetic fields that are so incredibly powerful, we begin to, you know, open the field for others to also lead from heart, speak from heart, commune through heart, relate through heart, forgive through heart. And as simple as it seems, it is the most, in my opinion, the most powerful way to change the world and to lead through that love that we are. And so it's, and there's a, you know, there's the conceptual understanding of that, and then there's the embodied understanding of that, when you really know it bone deep in your cellular DNA. This is the new paradigm of healing, which is a whole other conversation. But you know, it needs to go beyond the intellect and beyond the theory and beyond the cliches.
Absolutely. Jewel, look, I'm trying to keep my seat over here for real. I have cold chills again. That's absolutely
powerful stuff.
Powerful stuff. Audience, I hope you were picking up those diamonds and nuggets that she was dropping all over the place.
Well, and, you know, just to kind of circle back to the question that you had, is, to me, the wealth of women is really important. And I'm talking internal and external wealth. When women can build wealth, and lead from heart, when you bring those two ingredients together, that's when, you know, cultural, political, and socioeconomic change can start to happen.
Absolutely.
And that's why, you know, it's you called it mission essential. I love that in your introduction. And the mission, the essential mission of understanding the value of women's wealth is huge. It has ramifications beyond what we can imagine.
Yes, that sustainable, holistic wealth. And what I hear you talking, what I hear you saying, it's all about the heart condition. and at women and what we do in our individual businesses, we're all about building people and women mainly in mind, body, soul, and business, because we've been so relegated to the back burner in that whole empowerment sphere, I guess you would say.
False power.
False. There you go. Yes, yeah. I love that. Did you say pulse power?
False.
False power. Okay. False power. Although I just had an idea. False power. Absolutely. And so you've given so many great suggestions. I can't even believe time is flying like this. But I do want to just give you the opportunity, before we kind of start wrapping the show, what would you say to women who are out there right now hurting, who are confused, who are angry, who are frustrated, who are staying in that quote unquote victim, and I don't say that with any condescension or anything, but that victim mindset? How do you help them pivot out of that negative place? What do you say to them? And to just get them on that journey to define their path, to choose what they will do forward from their circumstance that they are in now?
That's such a big question. And it's a big answer, but the thing that keeps popping into my mind is, victimhood or victim, perspective or mentality comes from believing that there's something broken in ourselves and that needs to be fixed. And so to really consider stopping making the most right part of yourselves wrong.
Ooh.
Because that's what we do, is we make ourselves wrong for being, abrupt or impatient or angry or fearful or, harsh or whatever. And the thing is we're human, we're full spectrum human beings. And so, embracing all parts of ourselves and understanding, of course, through doing release and belief shift work and, all of those things to release the beliefs that support that we're broken. And there's lots of modalities to do that, but to really, really start to consider that you are not broken, you are whole.
Yes.
To begin with. And that is the new paradigm of healing. It's, because that'll stop the endless healing cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. Girl, that was a mouthful yet again. And I know we could just keep talking and talking, and we will.
I could talk to you for many more hours, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And we want to make sure the audience stays plugged in. I'm so grateful for you being here. And I want to thank you for being my guest today on Candid Conversations, for just providing us an alternative way to think and be, and how to take control of our destiny and truly be, the captain of our ships, and not just subscribing ourselves to the fact that, oh, this is my circumstance, I'll never see my way out of it. Powerful stuff today, Joe. Powerful. Thank you so much. Audience, I hope you have enjoyed Real Talk with Jewel Veitch. Did she not drop some diamonds and nuggets? And
Thank you for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. We're going to have you come to my March event. I would love to have you there and just share more with the ladies. Folks, be sure to go back, watch this episode, watch it again. Send it and tell someone else to watch it and catch those nuggets drop. Tell a friend, bring a friend tell them about the life-changing conversations we are having here, the phenomenal guest as Jewel Veitch. Be sure to follow her, folks. Your call to action: answer these questions with truth, transparency, and love, folks, and space for grace for yourself. Are you trying to control something outside of you because of a lack or dislike in your world? And the second question: have you given away your power of choice and allowed someone else to control your story and trajectory? And if you have, I want you to reclaim it, okay? Think on these revelations, reconcile them in your life, and get on your Renaissance path to define your path. Folks, if there's anything we can do for you at Defining Paths, visit us at definingpaths.online. We are truly a one-stop shop of holistic transformation, healing, and business solutions for online businesses. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Jewel. Again, folks, what is our mantra? Strong is the new sexy. So be strong in mind, body, soul, and business. Define your path and love the skin you're in. I'm Doc V, the Pivot Maestro, and always your corner woman. I am my sister's keeper, and I will see you next week.